Welcome back. I'm glad you're still with us here on MorningAtNTV. The last 10 minutes behind the scenes have been both very intellectually inspiring. There's a lot that I've been imbibing on. Right here on the table, I have something that should be able to give us some points of reflection. The Nile English course, the People's Book 7. When I saw the Nile English course, one guest came through with it. Of course, my memories ran back to primary and my incursions with the strongest man in Singapore, Badang, the stories of Ichuli and all that stuff. So it's here, and I hope I'll be understanding exactly why he carried these books today, so that we can drink from his cup of wisdom. We also have Niccolo Machiavelli, the Prince. And apparently, if you are a politician and haven't read this book, your politics must be at a point where the Baganda might say, over kukona, something like that, as in it's not really fully cooked. I hope you can get a copy and also read it. The guests that I have this morning are eminent and of course are going to help us with perspective regarding the questions that are being asked by countrymen today. In light of the protests that happened over 2 weeks ago, that followed, of course, were followed by arrests and legal proceedings that saw many of those that were arrested released on bail. The questions are as vivid and varied as the motives of the demonstrations, but also the concerns that were raised by the government in the way the military and the other agencies acted. Can protests change Uganda's democracy trajectories? Echoes of recent uprisings in Africa, and why the Gen Zs are actually acting the way they are. Does that represent a new dispensation in the politics of Africa, or it is another passing wave? We shall be dissecting all those aspects and see exactly where each country, because nothing is unique, but there is something peculiar about how Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, Nigeria, South Africa, and any other country do approach their politics. I'm joined on set by the deputy spokesperson of the National Unity Platform, Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro. Many thanks for joining us.
I'm always humbled to be here. Having to start the week here is a blessing.
You are looking very peacock.
At the expense of not saying smart, but this is our official regalia. It is a form of protest against the state. You know that the state has declared this attire illegal. Many of our young men and women have been bundled, abducted, and thrown into jail. So whenever you see me putting on this, I am standing with those who are in prison for illegally being taken in for doing something that is not constitutionally illegal.
All right, we shall be, of course, seeking to understand a little bit more on the meanings and the nomenclature behind that particular protest. Also joined by Kassim Kamugisha, the Deputy RCC, Nakawa. Many thanks for joining us.
Very welcome, Chris. Good morning, Uganda. Good morning.
And of course, I wanted to ensure that the Honorable Musila is last in introduction.
Sure.
You are always very flamboyant, but today is a notch higher. You are holding what appears to be a tail of an animal that I'm trying to get to terms with. Please, what is this?
Colobus monkey.
Colobus monkey. Why are you holding it?
The climax of all your flamboyance is your culture and Africa. And once you know that you are an African, then it is epitomized with our culture. And one of our principles of NRM is PanAfricanism.
PanAfricanism.
And once you revive the true story of Africa, it is our story, not his story,
not
our
his
story. And this is the Bamasaba. I want also to say thank you, Your Highness Mzee Mudoma, the cultural leader of Bamasaba, for what we held, the launch on the 3rd Saturday, the launch of Imbalu, the circumcision season for this year for our male boys, male youth who are initiated into manhood, as along our culture, both in Uganda and Kenya, and of over 8 million people. Secondly, we're graced with all highnesses and majesties of Africa, and including the Nigerian Majesty, who is also the president of all cultural kingdoms across the continent. And tunataka tuseme asante kabisa wa ndugu zetu wenye mulitoka Kenya, Bamasaba of Kenya, Bukusu kama mimi, karibuni, na His Excellency Bwana Lusaka, Deputy Excellency Bungoma Governor, Lusaka Bungoma Governor and his deputy came along because these are also Bamasaba from Kenya. We want to thank you again and say the promotion of culture is the real revival of Africanness we have.
Okay. I want to just give you an information that also our president, His Excellency Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, was had a courtesy visit.
Oh yeah, that is true.
To the
on Saturday?
No,
Friday.
It was before. We started the carnival on Friday, but the real launch was on Saturday. And we want to say President Chagulanyi paid a visit to His Highness in his office, Umukuka, and we are, he came home. The Baganda come from that side. 9 clans of Uganda are from.
The history of Kakungulu is very clear.
No, not Kakungulu. Kakungulu is just later. We are talking of about 700 to 800 years ago, when Kundu migrated over, reaching this way, and it was called Kintu, something like that. So we have that cultural attachment, biological origins, and whatever. And we want to thank you for those of you, the biggest carnival in Africa, the biggest carnival in Uganda, and the best of all which Uganda can produce. Look at what NRM has done to this country.
I think, Chris, big thanks goes to the men and women who sat in 1994-95 CA. And
the Constitution of Uganda.
And really brought back the kingdoms and the cultural leaders into our country. So I think big thanks goes to those men.
Just a moment. I want to understand the perspective that
by 1966-67, the cultural institutions had been abolished by the then government.
That's right.
So 1994-95 in CEA, the Garant Ugandans who were representing Ugandans said, no, we cannot be patriotic unless we bring back what belongs to us. And so the big thanks to me goes to those
the guys who put together that particular pieces of legislation.
I differ from that orientation, and I think it is a distortion.
Must you differ?
Why? The history is clear that before 1994, in 1980, as these were going to the bush, the Kabaka of Uganda and other monarchs involved themselves in that struggle. So it was cheating of them when these who had taken over a country came to power and took them 7 years to implement what had been part and parcel of a process in 1980. For me, that is where I have a difference, because it is where we have been affected, because people, we appreciate those who took 7 years, a total of 7 years, to restore something that had existed, because restoration means existence. You're putting back what existed. Therefore, there was that delay is what later catapulted into Yoyabianswa.
I think you should be able to appreciate him, because there were many players at the time who could act to the contrary, but these ones chose to ensure that the restoration process is achieved.
It would have been betrayal if it hadn't happened. It would have been betrayal.
Let me just come in.
Please.
One, in 1966, you remember, all over Uganda, the then government of UPC tried to put cultural kingdoms, but in a manner which would not resonate well with the cultures of Uganda.
Okay.
Even in Bagisu, they put what they called umuinga. But these were political appointed, you get me right? So what the president...
Just like you had passed in the regional tier. You see, in the regional tier...
It's not functional?
But the law is a government. That has been refused by the people, not by government.
That one is a local government.
No, regional tier was a replacement of the choice of the Katikiro. And these are the issues we haven't discussed. The regional tier...
We shall have time to discuss
a
lot more issues.
Oh,
I would like to focus entirely on the fact that we are here to understand what is no doubt a culture in Uganda of protests. And by allowing ourselves to delve a little bit into what happened over the weekend is to appreciate that cultures and how people do certain things is very much important in how their trajectory is formed, politically, economically, as well as socially. The question I want to ask finally on the aspect of the rights of circumcision and the ability of this event, right from the initial stages to the climax that was Saturday, how has it been used to foster a new spirit, especially among the young people, to be able to stand up for themselves and take on the mantle of directing leadership, governance, and stamping out some of the vices that we are grappling with as a country, including corruption?
This is by oral tradition, is about 700 or more years ago, 7 centuries ago. It's not a short time.
That's right.
Africa deformed already. Some of these formations are much more older than those of Europe. Now, you and I and my younger brother here, we come from a region which had what we would call not centralized monarchs. We had a Republican kind of democracy at the time. And we are the best now to lecture to Republican democracies in Busoga, in Bugwere, in Bagisu, all of us. We had the clans, we had the super clans, and then everybody subscribed to the culture around there. So now the Baba Masaba knew that every male should be passed and initiated into the right of manhood, adulthood, through circumcision. Now, circumcision or imbalo is not simply cutting off the skin, no. It is something wider. You are told your background, the migrations, the customs, the norms, and everything all together. Even after cutting you, we still continue. I am one of those elders who always does that kind of thing, and they know it. The Bamasaba know it very well, both Kenya and Uganda. And that is the connect. That is the heartbeat of Bamasaba, both in Uganda and Kenya. Yes, by 1894, colonialism comes in. Mr. Grogan, distortion. Mr. Grogan, the side of Kenya now, simply divides us into two, and in Uganda, Reverend Rusku also divides us into Uganda by 1926. Now they say the Kenyan, you are Bukusu, going by the Gusi revolt, which we revolted against them heavily. And in Uganda, certainly they are nicknamed Bagisu. You get me right? Bukusu, Bagisu. And that is what you have known as for the recent history.
Honorable, thank you very much. I hope that has offered us an understanding of exactly what the Imbalu means to the Bagisu, but also how it fits into the greater puzzle of cultures within the country. A celebration of culture is always a good one, no doubt about it. I don't know whether we must be able to celebrate the culture of protests on the political scene or not. They've emerged as a very potent vehicle for dissenting voices to voice out their concerns. And over the last 2 years, so to speak, we've seen a wave in Nigeria, we've seen South Africa recently, and which is most elaborate, the Kenya Gen Z rejection of the Finance Bill 2024 that saw what was unthinkable on Africa's political landscape, a president cowing in and completely being able to meet the demands, most of the demands of protesters, but still there are concerns that are being debated, being rejected. We don't know where this will end. Uganda's version of these protests was marked by what we are used to, the clamping down on protests by the state, the deployment of the military, and of course the muzzling of the protesters and the demonstrators. The arrests were legal, but of course we are happy that most of those that were arrested are now out on bail. This is something that is happening, and this morning we need to understand how do we move forward as a country. The ability for people to protest, to demonstrate, and the ability of government to maintain order, and of course not clamp on the rights of those that have legitimate concerns that they are airing out. That must be well understood. Let me begin with Kassim Kamugisha. You are a deputy RCC, and Nakawa lies straight in the throes of many of the goings on, especially when it comes to the politics of Kampala and its metropolitan area. The conduct of the military was not a surprise. We have seen arrests conducted, especially when Ugandans come up to protest the way they are. We understand the legality of the actions taken by the state, but the legitimacy and the thinking behind is questionable. We are urging, and I hope you bring this out, whether there is any discussion for that matter within the circles of the security agencies, the tendency to be high-handed, the tendency to demonstrate that if you dare, these are the consequences. The military, the security agencies must pivot from that to a point of assurance, especially for the citizens, of safety, to be able to enjoy their basic right.
Chris, we have seen militaries in Africa, Sub-Saharan North Africa, whereby they have really identified themselves with the protesters. And this has not been out of the blue. This has been hinged on I think, one clear factor, and that is the ideology, the plan behind the protesters. So whenever there is a clear ideology, the intention that is nationalistic in character, there is nothing which can make the police, because in Uganda the police is the lead force in ensuring law and order. There's nothing which can stop the security agencies from identifying with the protesters, because if the ideology is nationalistic, the plan is clear for the country, then the military and the police are part of the plan and part of the ideology. Now the whole problem comes whereas demonstration is a constitutional right, whereas freedoms are guaranteed by the constitutions, but the state is there to ensure that these freedoms are enjoyed in a clear, understood, and organized manner. So when demonstrations are not understood in terms of ideology, plan, and a suggestion of infiltration by what could be, in quotes, understood to be destabilizing forces, then no doubt that the police will come out to ensure that there is law and order. And of course, the military, as a sister agency, will always come in to support. So where demonstrations have been successful is because there was a clear plan, a clear ideology, and the military had no option but to identify itself with the plan and ideology. Look at Kenya, for example, which is most recent. The issue was about the finance bill. You see, this was an issue which was general in terms of affecting the livelihoods, the incomes of the Kenyans. When you come to the Arab Springs, the Arab Spring uprisings, the issue was the price of food, generally. And this was not exceptional to the security of the countries. So they had to come out and identify themselves. But when you come back, for example, okay, go to South Africa, where there was fees must fall. This was clear because the armies, the police have got children who go to universities. Go to Nigeria with the SARS. But now when you come back to Uganda, in my view, and in the view of those ones who think like I think, of course there are those ones who are dissenting, the issue was the speaker must resign. Yes, the speaker must resign. But resign over what? Have you explored all other avenues available? Do we have because we're a democracy. In a democracy, you have got 3 arms of the government, which can't be found in a dictatorship. And one of these arms of government in a democracy is judiciary. What is the role of judiciary in all this, I can call saga in courts? Have you taken this petition in the judiciary to check the speaker and has found her guilty and she has refused to step aside and you are forcing her out? That's number one. Has the executive been influenced to understand why you are saying the speaker must resign? So why would we start from the extreme, which is the speaker must resign by force? Yes, the people have got a voice. The parliament is there because the people elected the parliament, but the government must operate in an organized and systematic manner. So where the organization and systemacy is being undermined, then the state has to come in and say, please look here, whereas you have got a right, whereas you are constitutionally guaranteed to demonstrate, but have you exploited all other avenues that when they can't meet your demand, then you go to the extreme of causing disorder, breaking the laws, and forcing the speaker out. Well, assuming all factors are constant, why would we not have a demonstration starting from point A to point B with clear communication and discussion with the state? And in this line, the police, because I wasn't comfortable, Chris, when you said the military. The military has never been a lead agency in maintaining law and order.
We have a culture of the military deploying, and this one I must be very specific. When we see MPs, military police,
yes,
that is the military. It is not any other agency. The guys, when the military is deployed, and these particular red top guys, the message is clear.
Yes.
Why? Their modus operandi is no nonsense. They are not the guys who are going to ask you to move aside. They are simply going to get you out. And Ugandans know that. You do not play with the red top guys. You might joke around with a cop.
Yes. But
the red top guys, absolutely no. So when they are seen on the road deploying, the message is clear.
You see, Chris, when I'm here, I want to operate within the legal regime.
Please do.
You see, if the military...
Where do you operate outside the regime?
If the military was the lead force, I wouldn't see reason why we couldn't petition it out of the street. But because the law provides that the police shall be the lead force, supported by other sister agencies, that is why you have not seen any petition against military supporting the police where there is breaking of law and order.
Okay.
So the point I was making is, if there was a communication which is clear, notification in my view and the view of those who understand security, it's not about writing. It's about breaking down what you want to do. I want to move from NTV railways to Parliament. But how many people do I have to move with?
Do I also have to break down the yards, as in I'll be walking 10 yards within a pace of 2 minutes?
You know why? Because in security, any gap can be exploited. Any mistake in security is an exploitation by adverse parties.
All right.
So therefore, I think the military will always come in and support demonstrations when there is clarity of ideology, clarity of plan. But when there is a lapse in any of those, the police will always come in to say, look here, the country must have law, the country must have order.
Okay, let's allow the Honorable to first bury himself in that book for 1 or 2 minutes and get to the question that I need.
Very principle.
And get the Deputy Spokesperson of NOP submit specifically to the aspects raised by Kassim Kamugisha in respect to the demands of the protesters. Was there any attempt, for example, on demand number 3, reducing the number of members of parliament, demand number 4, the resignation of any member of parliament who is involved in any corruption, the auditing of a lifestyle of all the members of parliament and publicizing it, and then cutting of salaries and allowances of all members of parliament? Has there been an attempt to follow through on a petition that seeks to effect these demands by all actors, including the opposition, like the National
First of all,
Platform?
I want to, from the onset, say that whereas we are in support
that is clear.
of the protests, it is not us.
These demands,
Those are leaderless, partyless.
have you sought as a party to petition
One,
the reduction of salaries of MPs?
for me, I would go to the at the expense of discussing his orbiter. I would take it. This would be my trajectory of answer to what you're asking me. First of all, protests are a constitutional right. They are a universal declaration of human rights. Protests are a civil way of presenting dissent. And if you look at these protests were clearly defined. They were against corruption. Something all of us have been singing on this platform, on all platforms, as a party, as otherwise. This whole story started when there was an exhibition of accountability to how our affairs are run at the helm of the third arm of government, and that is Parliament, which is supposed to be, which ends the tricycle of the doctrine of separation of powers. And the voices of the people rose often. And this came to the chagrin of of General Museveni. It came to the chagrin of every responsible Ugandan, until when we had even international players facilitate an international law existence of sanctions against the leader of Parliament. So the ideology, if one is talking about clarity and ideology, this protest is clearly against corruption. If you look at the 1848, the 1789, if you look at, if you come down to the marching of women to Versailles, if you expound to the Ben Ali, the Arab Spring, looking at Ben Ali, the Ben Ali riot actually came from someone burning himself. It was not ideological, but out of unemployment, unfairness, unfair taxation, they were forced. One person, that was the immediate factor. But there were run-ups when they were telling the Ben Alis of this world that this is wrong, we should change this. They had not seen that. Now, the immediate factor to the outbreak of the Arab Spring was the banning of an individual who has kiosk had been taken away. Now, these protests are led by, first of all, new faces. I don't know, going for break? Led by new faces, was simply saying that the system should react to the loss of finances. Every year we lose over 10 trillion. And this 10 trillion, these monies are as a result of allocation by Parliament. Today Parliament has a budget of over 1 trillion shillings. And yes, it does have a budget of 1 trillion. And out of the 36 trillion of our budget, because we don't have a budget of 72, we have a budget of 36 to 39 trillion, and they have 1 trillion. Out of this trillion, this whole money is being usurped, is being stolen by a cabal, a mafia clique has encroached on our finances, not only the finances, but on the national budget. And now, these are words of affirmation, clarity from the head of state. These are words of affirmation from General Kahinda Otafiri, a historical and the Minister of Internal Affairs, in charge D of investigations. Is telling you that you have leaders who are thugs, and don't allow them tell you that they are stealing for you. Go and stand against them.
All right, it's 8 o'clock. I'm afraid we're going to have to go for a break. When we return, that particular submission will receive all the flesh that it needs. And of course, we shall also be hearing from the Honorable about Parliament's budget and whether he feels that actually Parliament is on the spot and it's justifiable that they should be seen to be working around the clock to ensure that transparency reigns in the August House. Do stay with us. When we return, this conversation does continue. Welcome back. It's top of the hour and the discussion here on the Kickstarter on the protests and how they can change the shape and trajectory of democracies across Africa is on. We are looking at the recent uprisings across Africa, from the End SARS protests in Nigeria, the Fees Must Fall protests in South Africa, and the Reject Finance Bill 2024 in Kenya, which is the most elaborate of all these protests, given the fact that it conditioned a rethink in management and running of government by Mr. Ruto. Here in Uganda, the protests were, well, a bit marked, but the messages are now clear. Corruption is endemic and something must be done. Let me begin this particular section with the Honorable Musila. You are a member of Parliament who is outspoken. You are one who has demonstrated sometimes that you are able to take on the bull by the horns, but also speak without necessarily being afraid of what the consequences of what you say will. Can you, on national television right now, tell us where you stand on the corruption allegations and the manifestations that we have seen on social media? And I'm clear about this because what brings about confusion is that the taxpayer cannot put the evidence together, take to court and say the speaker is corrupt, the commissioners are corrupt. We are all depending on what we see, the goings on, and the irregularities as expressed by the president himself, as showcased by the Auditor General. You are one who is in the precincts of Parliament, in the corridors of power. You must be dismayed by what's happening. You must also be taken aback by the fact that the head of state is particularly dismayed at the conduct of some of your colleagues. We are afraid we don't have information on you, but if we do, we shall bring it out.
Yeah, please.
You also should help us bring out the information. You promised us a while back, and I think it was on this show, the good deputy spokesperson was telling you, why haven't you come clean on divulging the names of those you know are conducting themselves in unbecoming manner?
Chris, I want to thank you. Paul, about 2,000 years ago, writes and says, "For all have sinned and run short of glory." You are Chris. He is also Alex. But even a Muslim, all Muslims must read the Bible.
They read the Bible more than us.
Oh yeah, that is it. And critically so.
I've realized that.
Yeah, that is it. It is a requirement that you must have all the books, the 4 books, read. Now, Chris, why did I begin with an allusion to the Holy Book, or one of the Holy Books? One is that almost where we have degenerated to, everybody is involved. I wish also to categorically say this. I think the beating the person of the speaker has received is just too much. That's not the way. There must be something which I don't understand, that, is it only Right Honorable Anita Among who is corrupt in this country, who should get a beating all the time? Are there no others completely?
Mpuga has received a beating.
Yeah, no, on a lesser extent. On a lesser extent. I think let us be quite very sincere. We are beating up this young lady too much and leaving others, possibly now sacrificing her to that extent. I'm clear in my mind saying this because I'm aware it is Parliament. Today we have people in Ruzira, and most of them my own party. Where did it come from? It is Parliament. It's Parliament. The Mwine Mpaka report gets people into Ruzira. It is Parliament again doing that. I have said this over and over, and with all the clarity that all have sinned and run short of glory. You are going for Parliament, yes, because you are representatives of people. We ought to have all the integrity which must be around in this country. You see that? But the executive, especially what you call the technocrats and the others, equally, you can't brush them aside. You can't. Actually, they are the super ones in our colloquial way. Is another CC knows. I was 0C5, I know. In our colloquial, we call them not technocrats, but tumbocrats. Tumbo, stomach. Tumbocrats. You get me right? Now, let me come to the point you had asked me. True, I am one of those first people who signed the censure motion. And I gave reasons. It's not about the speaker, it's not about anybody else, but checking ourselves. If it is legally right, then it is morally very wrong to award yourself such monies. We did that, and we are checking ourselves as Parliament and telling people, please, here, yes, you might be legally, the Western law can protect you, you are schooled in the Western law, the lawyers can say that, but morally it is wrong. If it is not a crime, then let us craft it into a sin, and it is a sin. It is immoral for you to award yourself while you're in office. Go to my younger brother here. Now, it is not about bribery. Now let us go to corruption in general, the way you understand the perspective of corruption. His own people, recently we have just received the monies for our travels pulled over from last financial year. Tell me those who got hundreds of millions. Somebody from opposition, many of them, I can point here with all clarity and evidence. Somebody has traveled over 100 times. In Parliament, 3 years down the road, I've traveled on the Parliament 5 times. Somebody, police, don't mind.
Hold on.
How do you come up to travel or not to travel? The crime is not traveling. The crime is purporting to travel and you have not traveled. Is that not a crime? Is that not a crime?
You are using Are you suggesting,
yes,
and we must be very clear, yes, that there are members of Parliament who have signed for money
from his side,
and any other side for that
from
matter,
his side,
who have signed up for travel allowances,
all evidence is there,
but have not.
All evidence
100
is there.
times.
Actually, I should even know. One of them has traveled about, I think the topmost is about 102 trips. An opposition member is even on the front bench of opposition, the left side.
Just
hold. I was keeping quiet all along.
I want names,
please.
I want names. Yeah.
I have told you. Yeah. I have told you. These are some of the impositions. Corruption. The commissioners. We are saying you are a commissioner. Very good. It is not illegal, but how do you bring to Parliament as workers 70 people, you alone? You related to you. You can talk of not being corrupt. I want to say even in the office of LOP, there is someone. Who? There is someone working there.
You say the name.
Brought from,
I needed that train of thought to be thoroughly brought to the fore.
I'm telling you.
Now I'm at honorable. I'm at a point.
And you know Katana? You know Katana?
Yes.
Where is she working? Where is she working? Now let me go for names.
Okay, yes. That's what I want.
Exactly.
Yes. State names. Yes. Let me borrow. Let me.
Let's go down.
I've
been conscripted to say names.
Who traveled 102 times?
This is
purportedly traveled, but didn't. But God, please.
Don't mind. I have the names. At an opportune time, I will give them to you. And I'm going to even address the press about it.
When are you addressing the press?
We want to audit the travels. And you will get that it is these people who are taking the biggest chunk of man of parliament, opposition.
No, Mr.
There is even a group which calls themselves the Sky MPs. Even the Sky.
They always travel.
Yes. Just like, did you read Chinua Achebe's book? Things fall apart.
Things fall apart.
Yeah.
I was excited.
What did Nekebadi say? If men have learned to shoot without missing, I will fly without patching. So we have brothers and sisters who are always flying without patching.
Give us some 3 names.
Give us 3 names.
I want to say now I've been conscripted.
Said one name.
Out of the spokesperson.
Can
I
out of the no, just wait, please. Don't force me into.
No, say the names.
All right.
Until when I'm ready.
This is a national TV. You're willing to do a press conference.
I have said.
Can I indulge?
I thought you wanted me
Alex,
to show.
Let me ask Honorable.
For the 3rd time.
Honorable.
Yes, please.
And be very specific on the answer you give us here.
It's a national TV.
When are you holding a press conference where you will divulge the names of opposition members of parliament who purportedly travel but don't, and then sign up for money?
We have 100
Not to be this week, not beyond the next week. It could be this week or early next week.
When should we give you a call?
Please, you get me by Thursday, call me. There will be a press conference. I've already announced this. So I want clearly to say that Parliament itself is out to fight corruption. And I want to say the other issue is that opposition may shield themselves. That shield that we are opposition. You touch one who was supposed to travel, did not travel, received the money. All of them will come up and say, they are torturing us, they are doing, you know, all that. It is very easy for us, NRM, to be put in Ruzira. Our colleagues are there now. Nobody says anything. Certainly courts will declare them whichever way they may. Now, the other issue... Let's use the good offices seemingly, opposition must be having personal vendetta with the speaker as a person. Because all of them have been on other media.
I will be coming to you very shortly. Just pardon me, Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro, Deputy Spokesperson of National Unity Platform. Can you get in touch with the leader of opposition in Parliament, who is a member of the National Unity Platform, and he delivers or gives us the names of all your members of Parliament, the committees they are on, and what tasks they play that condition the kind of travel that shows they've received money but apparently didn't travel.
Sure.
You're not the most...
Including going for Hijjah. Parliament is paying you to go for a Hijjah.
Now,
I want to go for Exodus in Ethiopia. Can I be paid before I'm a Rasta? Can I be paid before by Parliament of Uganda?
I wish to tell the nation. I have been with Honorable Musila on this platform, and he has, with a lot of assertion, intimated to us that he was going to bolt. He was going to bolt what we had not known and tell the country who the corrupt opposition officials are. We have waited for over 2 months, 3 months. Probably now that he has given himself Thursday, that will give me an opportunity to react. However, let me say this. Let me say this. We will provide, as the National Unity Platform, our committees is public knowledge. However, you spoke about Katana. Please stop blackmailing people. It is very unfortunate when you are a member of Parliament, to your level, we respect you, You come on national TV and blackmail an individual you don't have whatsoever facts, history, knowledge about. The wife of Benjamin Katana is not a government employee. She is a private, she's privately, in fact, she runs her own employment. She's the boss, she's the CEO. Benjamin Katana is a lawyer, he's not working with government, neither is his name anywhere in parliament. Now, that type of blackmail...
I have not talked about Benjamin Katana.
No, you said Katana.
I have not.
You said Katana.
I have not.
And the only Katana I can speak about...
Can you be specific?
Be specific.
No, which Katana is saying?
Not
Which Katana are you saying?
Honorable refer to Katana as she.
Okay. Who is...
Meaning,
I said
yes,
she.
Yes.
So who is the Katana?
Now, who is that Katana?
I have not talked about
now,
Benjamin,
this is
and I don't want us to mention names.
I will take you...
That's not the right way.
You said you're going to take names, and I want to take you on. Can you... Because you are referring to me, the national deputy spokesperson of NUP, and you gave me a name of Katana, a she. We don't have any person registered as a member, active member of National Unity Platform as a she called Gatana or Katana or Gutana in Parliament representing the National Unity Platform. And also, most importantly, I wanted to
maybe
say
ask him the
Joel Senyonyi,
what is with the Katana?
Yes, what is with the she Katana that
Can you be specific,
about? Be specific, because this is national TV.
Chris, I avoided anything.
You made a mention
already.
On that.
Already.
Good.
You pulled me, you conscripted me.
Now that you have no facts, I will not waste time.
Don't mind about the facts, and they will come. They will come.
Please, let me go to this.
Without mentioning any names.
If you listen to Honorable...
I understand.
Don't pull me into doing something which is very unethical here. No.
If you listen...
I'm not mentioning any names. But the names will come at the right time.
Then do not blackmail people.
I'm not blackmailing anybody.
Do not mention people's names where you cannot substantiate or elucidate any. I wanted that to be very clear. Secondly, if it will come, we will take you on when it comes.
Exactly. Wait until then.
Secondly, no.
You've made a very lovely statement.
No,
you will take him on
there is something I wanted to say. Yes, now can I make my submission? And this is very important.
Very quickly.
And I'll do it very quickly.
Yeah.
I have carefully listened to him and I'm astonished. You just put your boss in Luzira among, because all the corruption you're talking about, be it the trips, she is the custodian of that. The reason many members of parliament, and this is in public knowledge, have feared to sign, and this is on the answered, have feared to sign is because of the trips. This was said on the floor of parliament, which trips are awarded by the speaker.
By who said that?
By the speaker. It was said by Honorable Arion. Yes, Honorable Arion. Because we follow these issues. And the person at the helm of parliament is the speaker. She is the one who went to Kenya for a whole month. She is the one who went to Rome for a whole period. She is the one and Magogo who have been taking these monies. However, let me tell you this. She went to Ruengo and admitted that one of her people is corrupt. But she said that that corruption was acceptable because they were eating with the people. That is the third person at the helm of government.
I'm afraid there's a conversation that
where you have
1 second.
Okay.
One second.
You know,
1 second.
unfortunately,
Okay, let me
I have not been
I
have not been given opportunity.
I am the speaker of this platform.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So
but
I'm going
let
to
me rebuttal to that.
I'm going to act
in 1
unilaterally. I've seen the late Olanya do this. I've seen Kadaga do this. I've also seen Anita Among do this.
1 second.
Keep quiet. Keep
1
quiet.
second. Okay. Respect.
Great. We are waiting on the Honorable on Thursday to divulge information on members of the National Unity Platform who take trips, who don't take trips but take the money. We are also waiting for the names of some of the most corrupt individuals in the country, as promised a while back by the Honorable.
Yes.
So on Thursday, on national television, I'll be reporting on Friday about what happened on Thursday with regard to the Honorable's promise. And I think at that point, like you promised, Alex Waiswa, you will take him on.
I will be, in fact, for the
so Kassim Kamugisha,
of Honorable Anita Among all the time.
All right.
Your mouth is dressed with among.
Kassim Kamugisha. Kamugisha, you've had the gentlemen debate what is no doubt a very, very contentious issue. Corruption is like an amoeba. The tentacles do spread out sometimes in ways that are difficult to figure out, and you cannot actually put pen to paper, you can't put a finger to anything. That's why the taxpayer sometimes is constrained when it comes to the provision of evidence. That's why we are like, somebody is corrupt, there are protests going on, but when they ask you, all right, where is the evidence? And you're like, there was an exhibition on Twitter, the president said so. The court will ask why the president's statement is a statement. You might reason he's the president, but court will want something more substantial than that. Do you fundamentally believe that the president's statements must come with something more solid than just talk? Because he will be helping the nation if, for example, he has a lot of times he has addressed the country, came up with a list and also broke down, or rather breaks down for us, who the officials are he thinks or he's been briefed about to be colluding. Is that something hard for the president? Right now you are the president here because you're the RCC and the representative. Is it something that we are asking? Are we asking too much?
No, we are simply asking the president to use the prerogative and the preserve powers.
That's right.
But again, that would in a way undermine the constitution and other legal frameworks of this country that provides for systematic investigation, alignment, and prosecution. So the president's statement is giving a basis
for the investigators,
for the JEROS, Justice, Law and Order sector
to move without fear
or favor, without fear of contradiction from anywhere. The president's statement is an indication of the political will from the highest office in the country that if there is evidence, clear evidence that can be sustained in court, then there is no escape. You'll go to jail, which might have not been the case before. You remember President was in Kororo, I think, last year, and he said, God will intervene. He had not seen any evidence. He came to Kororo this year.
He was hopeful.
He was hopeful.
Yeah.
He comes to Kororo this year and says, now I have evidence. Within a week, you see the security, that's the police, swinging in, arresting
3 members of parliament.
Then subsequently others.
The agencies went silent after that.
You see,
we were diverted into the cooperatives scandal, although it involves MPs, but it's a different scandal altogether.
You see,
we wanted to know, apart from the 3 members of parliament who were arrested, that is Mutembuli, there is the lady from Akamba and Sisi. Who are the others? Because there is collusion. These did not act alone. Where are those that they colluded with?
Can we do a rejoinder on this as well, as a rejoinder for you?
Make it a rejoinder, please.
Yes, because I want to know that after the president, John Musila, says that he has the evidence and these people are committed to, they are taken to court, the third arm of government, the speaker, meets the John Musila in State House on Friday, and then on Sunday runs to Masakalwengo and says, you know what, you have already been forgiven because the stealing was with you, the people. So what can you give us a juxtaposition?
Thanks for the rejoinder
of that?
Let's allow Kamugisha to submit.
There is nowhere it is stated in our laws that the president must read the list of anything to the country. But it is implied that when there is evidence, the president can give support, and has mentioned it all the time, that we shall give support. Politically, we shall give support. The state agency shall swing in to ensure that corruption is stamped out. Now, the problem we have here is to think that the president will act on our speed. The president is a strategic leader of Uganda. He's a CEO of this country. So where speed becomes the solution, then you expect a crash. And a crash will be a platform for other forces to undermine the president. So the president is saying, where there is evidence, states shall come in, arrest, sanction, arraign, and courts do their work. Why? Because we're in a democracy where the arms of government are dependent and interdependent. They are independent and interdependent. So the executive has given the will. The parliament investigated, because the cooperative scandal was out of the parliamentary committee on and something investigations. Now the judiciary must not fail us. And it is failing us in a way that bail. Bail is not a constitutional right. Application for a bail is what is a right. But being granted a bail is a discretion.
Just hold it. Just hold it.
When I apply for a bail, it's my right. But being granted bail is a discretion. The chief, the presiding officer can decide to say, go home or stay in jail. And you see,
I am not a lawyer, but I find it very disturbing that granting of bail is not constitutional, but application is constitutional. Then why are you applying for something that... I'm not a lawyer.
Yes, and if
I think I'm protected, even you must give reasons why you should be given that bail, and reasons must be...
That makes it... And that should not be... Listen, even by him, even by his answer, that also I have heard.
Maybe
even by your own answer.
Maybe you went overboard by saying the unconstitutional aspect of it.
Let me Kassim.
Why would somebody be given the opportunity to apply?
Kassim.
Chris, it's me submitting.
Yes, Kassim.
It's me submitting.
Let him do.
Just a second.
No.
This is vital.
He has rejected that.
For information, for now,
if it is a discretion,
please,
I'm saying he will listen, because this is we are here to help each other. If it is a discretion,
all right.
If bail, even by your own interpretation, that should not be a problem.
Are you giving information?
Wait.
No, please.
You want to be like a nursery kid?
No, please do not go into mannerisms that won't take us in.
Discretion.
We've just wasted 2 minutes.
Discretion.
I make my point.
Okay.
The word discretion.
If you don't teach me the law here.
Alex,
don't teach
hold
me the law.
Alex, hold it.
You quote the
Alex, hold it.
Application for a bail, being granted the bail is a must. No, it's not a must.
This is what exactly I'm saying.
It's not a must.
I am actually, you're worried.
I'm speaking the law.
Being in opposition, you're worried that I am going to be against you.
Really,
okay,
I'm only helping.
It's 8:30.
If it is a discretion
for
the public,
and I'm going to have to take a break.
So if it is a discretion, then it should not be a problem, because the sitting judge has the discretion. That should not be a problem.
So why should have a discretion right?
If the judge, by your saying, has the discretion to determine yes or no, then it should not be the duty of the state to worry, because the legal regime has entrusted the discretion, the decision, to the sitting judge. You see, that is exactly what I'm saying. Now you are simply saying...
my point. The wallet is...
Or maybe we misunderstood.
Yes. Okay, let's understand you.
The wallet is...
Yes, let's understand.
The executive has given a will as the political line.
That's right.
Parliament has investigated. But at some point, judicially, is compromised.
No.
Is compromised.
How?
So the bail does not come because you deserve a bail. The bail comes because the judiciary is compromised to give a bail.
But you have you're not blaming the speaker,
Alex,
who has a victim in court.
You are
Alex.
The speaker here.
Yes. No, you see.
Let him submit finally.
So I think the president is right to say bring evidence, but he's saying we shall support you. He's sending a message to some section of government that has been compromised before, that whereas you'd want to compromise by giving a bail, there is evidence, we want these people sent to jail. So finally, I want to suggest that the president will not read out the names of the corrupt. But the arms of government, the special judiciary, should do the work to ensure that when there is evidence, people are prosecuted, arraigned, and sentenced, convicted. And that is where we shall have seen the three arms of government working together to stamp out corruption. It can't be the work of the president only. Okay. Then he will have usurped all powers of the government.
All right. Thank you very much, Kassim. We're going for a break. It's top bottom of the hour of 8. And of course, when we return, we shall have our very last segment that should allow us to finalize on any aspect that might have not been clear, especially in the submissions that found Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro and Kassim Kamugisha in a tug of words. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're glad you're still with us here on MorningAtNTV. The discussion behind the scenes is as heated as it has been for the last 1.5 hours. It's interesting that there is no thin line, especially when the debate on who is corrupt, why the president does what he does. We are hoping to get around it. And of course, given the fact that the president has the intelligence, I personally would love to state categorically that intelligence gathered is evidence. There's absolutely no reason as to why you can have all the information that you have on any one person and then it does not constitute evidence, and then you have to depend on another party to determine whether that is actually true or not, when the evidence has been provided by people competent enough to go through all documents, to go through electronic transfers and be able to provide this information. So we do hope that that can be clarified. Honorable Musila, as we enter the final bend of MorningAtNTV, I would like to admit, and very rightly, that debating these issues cannot be done as exhaustively as it must be in a single show. No. That is why there is an overlap sometimes on one thing to the other, but it's specifically for context and for us to understand exactly where we are. Allow me now delve into the gist that we began with, the fact that there is a wave that has the younger people appearing to be finally understanding that they have a role to play when it comes to the direction of the politics of any country that it takes. Do you fundamentally believe and see that for Uganda, the trajectory of having the youth take on the mantle, be accommodated, especially when it comes to decision-making processes, but most importantly, to be accepted as key stakeholders by those that hold high offices, is happening? Do you believe it's a good thing?
One, there are revolutions, and the most recent, maybe 100 or almost 150 years, we have had now 3 stages of revolutions all over the world, by the way. And what we may see in the coming 2-3 decades could be the 4th generation of this revolution. Now I want to say, all over the world, younger people will always get very discontented with the establishment all over. You saw the waves in North Africa. You must have seen in the 50s, through the 60s to 80s.
We've read about that.
Yeah, those coups and whatever. Now they become contagions. But if my government had not handled well the issue of EFRIS, which started here, and you know, a statesman is handling and foreseeing something which can degenerate into trouble, he handles the EFRIS thing. So the Kenyan thing is actually from here. The Gen Zs of Kenya cooperative from here. The bill in Kenya, and the financial bill, it is from here. The way we handled it, and with our dynamics here, given our history and everything, the leader knew how to handle. The leader of Kenya, I don't want to delve into.
You're suggesting he doesn't know how to handle the things.
Intelligence failed him. NIS, I'm much more closer to Kenya than anybody around within this
we appreciate that.
Yeah. The NIS mishandled the whole thing. National Intelligence Services of Kenya mishandled everything.
I know.
You think they didn't know? How can people enter their own property, their own house, burn it down?
Joking.
You see? I know.
People
and
power.
We appreciate
people power.
We appreciate
the people.
We appreciate
Maybe
the
it's a better phrase. When I say people power,
we
people
appreciate.
might misunderstand me.
Look,
power
Chris,
of the people.
Chris, when President Museveni went to the bush, he was as well very young, extremely very young, actually in his 30s. That's why he takes power at 40s. We are aware, our generation, I'm about 60, You get me right? We will get out. But how do we handle in these recent times this kind of handover? You get me right? That's the most important.
Why is there that dismissiveness on the part of the older generation that the young cannot handle the situation now as they handled the situation then?
Thank you. Because you were not there then, or you were not old enough then, you can't know the dynamics then. It was simply chaos. It was simply.
I was 2.
You were 2 years, I think, or so, something like that. So you wouldn't. I was a child and grew up through this into a youth. Now I want to say this: we do appreciate as government what the younger voices are saying. We must, since the other day I gave, and it is you people who made the production of what I stated that on the corridors of Parliament. I said, why should we go into a session, dine while our people are on the streets? I said it. Next day, of course, Parliament was suspended again, and the recess continued for some time. That's what a patriot should think. You get me right? Now, we must listen clearly and keenly to our youth. They have a point, but how they present the point is not through chaos. The law in any way does not provide for rioting. No, I don't see it, unless if somebody is going to tell me that and quote that kind of law. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think there is anywhere room for rioting. No, but people can express themselves in this country, and they do express themselves, and very well, and they have ever done so. The traders of Chikubo, Efris, and others express themselves to their leader.
Let me ask.
Right. So I wish to conclude.
Please.
Number one, we must listen to the youth through the right channels, right fora, and everything. We must listen to them. They have a point. 2, we shouldn't target only one individual. The way some of our lips are written with Anita Among. Everything you say, this is pure personal vendetta. I do not know whether somebody has an issue with this Ugandan called Anita Among.
All right.
Then, I mean, we must target everybody, not only one individual. Parliament is not about one individual. I have told you that on Thursday you wait when I come out.
Anita Among, and this one is, I think, it should be, I'm not supposed to give a rejoinder, given my status on the show.
Sure.
But please allow me to. The status of any one person determines the attention they get. The speaker, being the custodian of the House, will, of course, find herself or himself at any one point in time in the direct line of fire on account of the fact that they are the top person.
Let us get the example. My speaker has given me a trip to go to Tanzania or Nairobi or wherever, and I don't do it. I get ways behind, darker ways to get the money. Is that our responsibility? It is me, a member of Parliament. Some of them who are celebrating.
What happens?
Is it Jubilee? 25 years is what?
What
Jubilee.
Happens after that?
Jubilee. I'm a new member of Parliament.
Yes. And so gives another trip.
Just wait.
Somebody might say the Right Honourable Anita Among hasn't even expressed any dissatisfaction or dismay at the fact that some of her juniors are doing these things.
Along committees, and we bring back reports. Any trip you make must be backed by a report for what you went for. And there must be, now, if I went for Hijjah, and I want to prove to you, I went for a Hijjah, who gives, who gives the report, and how is it?
Who gave the note to Hijjah?
Honorable,
How would
that report look like?
Honorable,
yes.
The question we want you to answer, and you're helping the public. Who gives that trip to a member of Parliament to go for Hijjah?
Why do you accept to get involved in the crime? If it
aiding and abetting,
I mean somebody allowing you does not mean that you must commit a crime.
Let me show you, gentlemen.
There's what they call aiding and abetting.
Mufumbiro, as a spokesperson, I think
I am Mufumbiro.
Honorable Mufumbiro, or whatever the case, you have only vendetta about these other Ugandan called Anita Among.
You yourself are getting her.
Gentlemen, honorable, I understand your emotions about that, and I do hope that maybe at one point or two they can be toned down and you believe that
see reason.
the speaker's position can attract the kind of attention that it does. When it comes to what a junior does, me, if after the show, for example, you do a report about what might have gone wrong or not, I give it to my producer. That producer is expected to also do the same, escalate it to the next person. And then that person is the one who comes down on, okay, you did this and this, you said this and this happened, why shouldn't we go or do this? Now, the speaker hasn't come out to ask some of these members of parliament, where is the report?
How do you know that she hasn't?
She's able to speak about so much. Why can't she speak about it?
Don't quote her in Rwengo, in everywhere, public statements.
She's in Rwengo.
How do you know that?
Are you distancing the speaker from public statements?
She's saying thieves are
that one is okay.
Her person as a speaker, she can say anything, wherever she is. Just like the president tells us that I know the corrupt, and here I am, I'm offering evidence. Let the people do what?
Why is this public opinion
is standing fueled
towards the speaker?
Because she has come out.
All right, Kassim Kamugisha. Kassim Kamugisha.
And we are not even
give us a quick one. Give us a quick one.
1 trillion.
No, I wanted to know.
Kassim has the floor.
Parliament has got technical and political arm.
Exactly.
The speaker is the political arm of parliament, is the head of political arm of parliament. The clerk of parliament is the technical head of parliament.
Person,
the accounting office of parliament. True or false?
Do you also know
now
that the speaker is the spokesperson of parliament?
Chief spokesperson.
Yes. Meaning all her deliberations supersede any other person.
Perfect. But what has
she's the head of parliament.
The report from the office of the clerk to parliament in terms of accountability?
We ask the speaker, have you put the clerk to task?
Let me say this.
Have you put the clerk to task?
So the clerk of parliament is clean.
For us, we have no way to get to the clerk of parliament. We don't have that mandate. I cannot ask the clerk of parliament about the goings on, but I can put the speaker to the spot.
So for me, my thinking is, let us widen
we are discussing a report of the Auditor General.
The speaker has got her own expenditures as the office of the speaker.
And they are frivolous. They are frivolous.
The members of parliament have got their own expenditures. If we are to go against parliament, it should be the whole parliament as a whole.
Now,
the question should be, can parliament be forced to be dissolved? That should be the question on the lips of the Ugandans.
That should be the case.
If you are talking about dissolving of parliament,
because you see what
the youth the other day sought to begin that process by asking for resignation.
No. To resolve, we are saying, we are agreeing with you now.
You're not part of
you have said, and we are not. We are here. So I'm a Ugandan. I'm a Ugandan. And this is exactly where we are. By you saying that this parliament should be dissolved.
You are agreeing with the need for one to resign.
On the leadership of parliament. By you on a consensus that this parliament, of all the parliaments Kamugisha have heard you talk about, this is the first one. You are in agreement with the nation that they should be. In fact, for you, you have taken the country into a constitutional crisis by this one is taking us into a constitutional crisis. The young ones are saying, let this one step down.
Yes.
We have another member of parliament elected to take charge of the mantle of the speakership of parliament and we end the term.
What about
the RCC, he just got an accident. I'm not aware of the rest in a helicopter crash.
Yeah, I know.
Now, few people, no, this is what I'm saying. If it is a constitutional crisis, for us we are actually not where he is. The RCC of Uganda is telling you.
Uganda has not a CC. They are a CC of Nakawa.
Whatever, they name them every time. The RCC of Nakawa, the RCC of Nakawa is saying that this parliament should be dissolved.
I didn't say so.
The young people,
can we ask
you are on record,
parliament?
The young people are simply saying, no, let's have another person because this one has failed. By our own admission on this set today, we have just indicted the person sitting as speaker. Let me tell you, the core of our nation, to have a person charged in third arm of government, executive is the president, the judiciary is the chief justice, and you have a speaker of parliament who walks to a function and commits to the nation that actually stealing is acceptable. And if you want to interrogate that, a person, what you're saying that we are coming after her. If you have the defendant of the corrupt members of parliament, because these are members of parliament who are being charged by encroaching on the national budget by the head of state, the head of the executive, and then the head of the legislature, where we are charging these for encroaching on the national budget, is up in arms lawyering for these corrupt people, her members of parliament. It means that this person sitting as speaker has been in conspiracy, aiding and abetting these thugs in Luzira. And this is not our evidence. This is evidence from the head of state. These people have been arrested by these
you
seem to have the law.
These language can filter through.
Yeah,
but gentlemen, I'm out of time. I would love this conversation to continue for as long as it can, but within the confines of my parliament, I'm going to have to say adjournment must happen. Thank you very much, Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro.
We are humbled. Only that
Deputy spokesperson
if
of
you
the
will
National
permit
Unity
me,
Platform.
yes, Achille Ochivumbi was
Deputy
abducted.
RCC Nakawa,
There's a human being who was
Musila,
abducted, Achille Ochivumbi.
I'm unhumbled because
I want to ask the MP here
yes.
and the RCC, because this security and an MP, they abducted a young man called Achille Ochivumbi. They abducted, I'm saying abducted.
And that's now the language which we can't.
No, he was abducted by the military.
The state arrested.
He was abducted by the military.
If it is an arrest,
but
please
now,
no, it is not an arrest.
Why would they go
Channels
for Akreo and leave you here, the voice of
Why are you here?
No, because I am the voice. They may fear the voice. And for you to say, no, and for you to say that they have left me,
Alex,
is for me to presume that I'm safe.
Let's respect the honorable Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro. Let me use
has
this.
been safe
Alex,
until yesterday. No, he's not Mukene.
Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro, MorningAtNTV might be forced to take a decision not to host you at any one point in time. This one I must be very clear. The tendency to disrespect the moderator's words, especially when you are supposed not to talk, must be taken to heed.
First of all,
this is order. It helps us advance our messages.
I don't think you are
right.
right.
Thank you, Chris, as an elder.
I am the moderator,
yes,
and I've said the tendency.
Yes.
It's not only today.
Yes.
It has happened before.
And
you have a tendency of continuing on and on and on and on. Let's allow for
But you don't make that statement.
No, I've made the statement.
That statement
I've
was aloof.
I've been compelled.
Arrogant of you.
I've been compelled to.
No.
Okay?
I think it was arrogant.
You
of you
deliberately went on discussing something else.
And I'm discussing somebody, so you don't be arrogant.
Let's have the final word.
That,
yes.
National matters must be handled with sobriety,
very quickly,
and with patriotism and nationhood. Yes, individuals have sinned. All of us have sinned. Let us not go only for individuals, especially with personal hatred, vendetta, and whatever. But secondly, the nation is out and with the will to fight corruption. Parliament is out to fight corruption. You have seen all this.
All right.
We are doing our best as Parliament, exposing. And
we hope that trajectory
including
can...
our own members. We are saying, I want to thank you and our listeners, our viewers, and everybody else. We will continue. Please call us even privately. We will try to add one or two things.
All right. Thank you, Honorable, for that wrap, and thank you, gentlemen, for the submissions. The heated nature notwithstanding, we are still comrades and gentlemen. That will do it for this edition of MorningAtNTV. Whoever was watching, we are glad you were on board. We shall be joining again other guests will be joining us rather tomorrow as we advance the issues of the day in the country. I'm Chris Higenyi on behalf of my colleague Priscilla Regina Naloga, and indeed the team behind the scenes that ensures these 2.5 hours are as exhaustive and sometimes entertaining and sometimes very emotional as we've just seen. Goodbye. Have a nice day.